Welcome everyone, this is CCP Fozzie here with CCP Dolan for our next match. And like we said before, the ISN has banned out Tengu and Sleipnir, EFS has banned out Rook and Vindicator. What do we have here, CCP Dolan?
So for Incursion Shining Network, we have a traditional Vargar setup, not the Hun setup with a Tengu, but a very strong Vargar setup versus a
Navy Megathron team
Ooh.
For EFS. So
Yes.
this may be a case where they wanted to bring Vindicators and then had to switch them out. Because they're the same points.
I don't know why you would go for the Navy Megathron
Over
and
more
just take more Chronuses.
It makes no sense to me. It may be that they just couldn't think of what to do with the rest of their points, but...
also choosing to go with a 7-man team.
Also very odd.
Rather than just take Chronuses and field an extra ship.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with the choices made there, although their defense bar you can see is gigantic. The Navy Megathrons have a lot of hit points due to that extra low slot. It's another ship in the same kind of vein as the Vindicator and the Chronos. It does a lot of blaster damage at close range.
Well, actually, it may have been a smart choice considering that there's 2 Kitsunes on the Vargar team. Very good against Chronuses.
Yes, so that could hurt them. But we'll have to see exactly how much damage they can do if they can get within range.
One of those Kitsunes is already tackled.
Although he is getting reps. He's getting some very, very fast reps from the Scimitar.
Yes.
Excellent job by the ISN Scimitar. Possibly trained on incursions, which are a pretty good way to train as a logistics pilot.
You gotta get really fast with your reps and incursions, otherwise you just die to NPCs, which is the least fun way to die.
Yeah, that's kind of an embarrassing lost mail. So we're seeing the E-War being applied to the smaller ships, and as well as to the Chronos. So as expected, we got ECM being applied to the Chronos. They know that that's the weak link, electronic warfare-wise.
The Saber, one of the Sabers tackled by a Hawk, quickly falling. No logistics on the team, so there's very little chance of him surviving at this point.
No, yeah, he's dropping down, and getting these frigs gone is going to be very, very useful. That Vargar, though, is webbed and scrammed, so the one of the Vargars here for ISN taking a lot of damage, and those Megathrons are going to be within range of him very soon if they aren't already. Oh yeah, they're right on top of him. So they don't do as much damage as the Vindicators, and they don't have the same web bonus, but they do have the advantage of that extra low slot, and are a lot cheaper if that makes anyone feel any better. So
they're a lot cheaper for our players in ISK, not in points.
Not in points. They're the same in
points.
So this really does feel like a case where they wanted to bring Vindicators, and then the last minute had to switch because they didn't have another setup ready. So this is an example of possibly EFS had some intelligence coming into this. Possibly they just knew that that was going to be a common setup, and they hit a good
ISN
guess.
had some intelligence coming into this.
Well, it was EFS that did the... Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, that actually makes no sense at all, because EFS is the one that banned the Vindicator, if I'm reading this right. So they won't have banned their own ships. So
this is
an intentional Navy Megatron setup.
I don't know if I like that.
not as much as a Vindicator. I would have preferred Vindicator. It might have been an attempt to throw the other team off. They might have thought that ISN would never expect it.
These Enyo's trying to pull range. The Enyo is of course red, and the red ones go faster. So they might be able to get out, but I don't think they will. They're both in low structure. As
we see the first Vargar explode for ISN. So that's actually a very good spot to be in for EFS. They've taken out about half of the damage for ISN. If they can keep these Megaths and Chronoses up, they're going to be in. They're going to have the huge advantage in hit points and damage. However, they're not going to have the utility frigates, so that's going to be something that really hurts. We're going to have to see how well the second Vargar, which is now webbed as well, can hold up. It's going to be using its ASBs as well as the reps from the Scimitar, while they're turning fire onto one of the Navy Megas. If the Navy Mega can take down the Vargar without dying, then that's going to be a clear victory for EFS.
Yes, very true. You can see here the effectiveness or the lack of effectiveness of not having a Tengu. The Tengu was what made, in my opinion, the Hun Vargar setup from Alliance Tournament 10 super strong. It's almost like fitting a really good invuln field, having an extra mid slot on these super tank ships. There it is, bouncing back and forth with his ASB.
Yep. It is worth noting that ISN has actually banned the Tengu themselves, so obviously they didn't intend to bring one. This wasn't a case where they wanted to bring one.
It's just super hard to fit with the points, I think.
Difficult, yeah. So that Vargar is holding up right now, but once it runs out of charges on that ASB, it's going to be in big trouble. Meanwhile, all of the Hawks and Kitsunes are turning their attention onto these Navy Megas and Chronoses. With 2 Kitsunes running, do you think that Chronos has any chance of locking for the rest of the fight?
It depends. Can we get a good look at him and see if he's got any ECCM running?
Can. Even with ECCM, though, I think it's going to be very difficult to get locks against 2 Kitsunes dedicated to you, as I expect they pretty much will be. However, the ISN team losing that, or that Vargar's dropping fast. If he goes down before the Navy Mega does, then I think we're going to be looking at an EFS victory with only their battleships left.
He's at least got something left in his
ASB. Yeah, he is still boosting.
Oh, then the Simney is still there as well. So the Simi just trying to make him last through his ASB reload.
Oh, he's dropping into armor though. I don't think it's going to be enough. And that Navy Mega.
I think he's going to do. I'm going to go. I'm going to be the Cruncharian. I think he's going to do it. I've got my fingers crossed. Whoa! Maybe not after that shot. That was,
no, I think
that was certainly
about to explode
something.
Any second now. And that Navy Mega still doing fine. The big plate tank. So we usually see people combine these defensive armor tanks with high resist and a logistics ship. Oh, he's taking a little bit of shield back from the Simi.
He's still got some shields there. Oh, there he goes.
Great spot to be in for the EFS team. They're not going to be able to actually catch any of the ships for ISN, but the ISN ships aren't going to be able to kill them either, and they're going to win on points if the ISN guys don't go in and suicide themselves, basically.
He was almost certainly seconds from reloading his ancillary shield booster. He had been down for quite some time.
I do ever find that when you're reloading an ASB, it always feels like you're seconds away, even if you actually look at your watch and it's like, okay, I was really a good 45 seconds away still. It was only 10 seconds, but it felt like 60.
It's a heartbreaker.
Yes,
it really is.
It always is.
You just sort of like sit there and cross your fingers and like, oh, please.
So as long as they keep the Chronos jammed and keep the strong web off of their team, the frigates for ISN are likely down there. That's not good. It looks like the Hawk there got himself webbed by the Chronos. The Chronos was able to get a lock and took a lot of damage.
And there he goes, Hawk down.
So if they could have kept that Chronos jammed all the time, then they could have avoided getting webbed, and they could have kept their frigs alive and maybe taken down the one Navy Mega, but there's no chance of taking a second down in the time they have left. These Megas are just plated, so we're seeing a lot of passive EHP on them, and they're just hoping to outlast. And in this case, it's working really well for them.
Yeah, they do just have a ton of meat. With that extra low slot over a Vindicator.
Yeah, it's great for that. And we were saying before the match that we disagreed with their choice of the Navy Mega, but they've proven us wrong, and that the setup at least did the job here.
Well, maybe it was just that we didn't like the one setup, but the other setup was not as good. And we were still right, but
yeah,
we were just the other team
would have been very scary, or like running 3 Cronoses and then using that extra slot for a frigate with remote ECCM.
That would be pretty good.
That would have been very good. But that would have been very similar to what we saw.
But they won anyway.
Last year. Yeah.
They've functionally won at this point.
At this point, they're in great shape. That last Navy Mega might go down in the 3 minutes left, but nothing else will die, or nothing else in their team. They still have easily the option of killing some frigates for ISN.
Well, if they can shoot anything at any point.
Yes. At this point, the Chronos is going to be jammed most of the time, I expect. The Megas aren't going to be able to web them enough. They've got some newts so that they might be able to do a lot of damage when they newt out the prop mod for the frigates. Let's take this time to talk a little bit about the bars again that we're adding to the interface. So if anyone's new to this tournament, has watched the previous Alliance tournament, you'll notice that these are new. For anyone new to the game in general, the whole thing's going to be fresh for you. But right below the team names and points, as you'll see in the middle of the screen, you'll see 3 bars for each team: defense, attack, and control. And the way we've set this up is that those are procedurally generated from a computer analyzing each team, and the defense bar is built upon how much they can survive. So it's their total hit points, and then in the inner part of it, and then the outer part of it is how much they can repair themselves in 1 minute. The attack bar is how much damage they can apply. It's fairly simple. The large bar is how much theoretical damage they can apply on paper in a perfect situation, and the smaller one inside is what they're actually doing in the last minute, or 30 seconds in this case. And the control bar is looking at the kind of modules that they can use to control the other team, prevent them from executing their strategy. So these are things like electronic warfare, newts, and webs.
Yep. And for those of you who are super new to the Alliance tournament, or to any tournament, EVE tournament in general, you can see the points next to the team names is how many points that they have killed from the opposing team, and that is how we decide the victor in each match.
Yes.
Points afterwards do not matter in our new double elimination format, but they are what decides who is victorious and who is either dropping down to the loser bracket or going home sad.
Yep, and in this case, it's going home sad. EFS is going to be moving through into the next stage through the losers bracket. Every fight for them at this point is do or die. They cannot lose another match because they lost one yesterday. ISN, as we see another one of their ships explode, is going to be knocked out, and we're going to be all proven wrong. We went all 3 of us on ISN here, and once again cursing the team.
It is the famous commentator curse. There was once a Soundwave curse, but we eventually decided that if all of us pick a single team, they will almost certainly lose.
We're seeing some good fights in local GGs. Both teams have now, I think, realized that Yeah, that the fight is not really going anywhere. You'll notice the ISN attack bar has gone to 0. That's because they don't have any guns on any of their remaining ships. The Kitsunes are fit with, they can fit weapons, but they often don't to save themselves fitting room, and then the Scimitar usually is fit with no weapons at all, so they actually have no ability to deal any damage.
Perhaps they could bump a Megathron out of the arena, over the edge of glory, the boundary of our arena, forcing a boundary violation.
It would be kind of like a fly trying to bump a Mack truck, but
it would be funny.
It would be.
It is sort of like pestering. We have 20 seconds left in the match.
Another Kitsune goes down. So basically, EFS is just trying to pick off whoever they can in the remaining a couple seconds they have left, and they're going to be taking this fight. So
perhaps they're just looking for stuff to loot.
Yes, that's also another thing you can do. You can loot up, and all the time you have remaining, but you will get teleported away at the end.
Yes. A sad leaving of loot on the field.
And as the match ends, the last Kitsune dies, and we're done. So that is EFS moving through the losers bracket, and ISN is going to be going home. Better luck next year.
All right, we will see you guys back in the studio after a short promo.